Hey, Redemption Peoria. I hope you're well. I am assuming that you've, up to this point, have heard that I am no longer the pastor of our congregation. And I wanted to write a letter, which is obviously attached to this video that you can read. And I want to say a few things about it. First and foremost, I'm really nervous to do this because it could come across as divisive. I want you to know I'm not writing this letter, nor am I making this video at all because I am trying to cause division within the church, or I want anyone to hate the elders or any of that. Please know there's not, the purposes of this is not malice or bitterness at all. I need you to know that I love the elders. I love their families. We have, as the Myers family, have had dinners with all of them. We love them deeply. And a lot of you, if I'm being honest, there's just not a reality that I don't think many people understand how difficult it is to make decisions with so many people in mind when all you have is conviction of what you believe is right. And I really believe that's where they are, and that's what's going on. And so that's not the reason I'm making this video. Please know that. I love Redemption Peoria. I love Redemption's elders. I love the leaders. I am for them. All that is true. The reason I am making this video and the reason that I wrote the letter is because in light of all that has happened, there's just been so many questions that have come to me. And as you can imagine, so many conversations that I've had. And then I've began to have conversations upon conversations and then hear certain things that I would hear the elders are saying about me that I go, that can't be true. And hurtful things that were downright seemed hateful. And as the narrative turned and people would say I would be saying certain things, I went in the end like, well, that's not true. And I wasn't sure what to do with that. And so I thought it would be best, the most loving thing to do as maybe a gift to you, to share how we got where we are. And I understand, and the elders understand that this is, as you saw in the letter that they sent out, it's a different view than the way that they're looking at it. And I'm okay with that. But I think it would be good for you to hear. And so there's a lot to it. So let me explain it like this. Over the last 2 years, it's been pretty brutal for us as elders. It's been a rough ride. I mean, the contention that we're at now, it started minimal, but the reality is we just don't see things the same. Myself and a couple elders specifically just don't see things the same. And you got to know this, it's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It really is not. It's just the way that they would view who I should be and where our church is at and what is best for our church and moves that we would make and all that, we're just different. And so when it came down to the leadership as we move forward in certain things, I wasn't never trying to bow up. I was never trying to fight it. I always kind of put in front of them, I want to learn these areas. And then we would come to certain points where I would go, well, that's just not me. That's not how I would handle that, or that's not who I think God's called me to be. And of the countless conversations we had, it would always end with, well, we just disagree. I mean, I can't tell you how many times our conversation ended, myself and a couple of these guys, with, we just disagree. And that's okay. That was okay. And this really came to head with the land. As we really looked to purchase a building for us, it became abundantly clear that we just weren't on the same page and how we would handle things. And there's vibes to it and there's philosophies to it, and it's all tied together. And I'll own, even in those meetings, I didn't handle those meetings well and had to ask for forgiveness. And all this is multiple bumps along the road where I wish I could take back. I'm sure they wish they can take back. We just kept realizing we haven't asked the really important questions. And what the land did is it caused us to ask those questions. And so we went about asking really big questions. And I put in the letter there, we asked questions of what type of leaders do we need? What direction are we going? Is everyone the right fit? We asked questions about capacity, all of that. And in doing that, as we kind of peeled away the onion, we began to recognize that we weren't as similar as we thought we were. And this only came to head really where eventually one of the elders felt like I shouldn't be the lead pastor. And as COVID-19 hit, that exacerbated everything to the point where this specific elder just felt, you know what, I don't think he should be the lead pastor. I don't feel comfortable following him. And so even for him, he wasn't acting as an elder for the last 2 months. He wasn't in that position or at the table. There's nothing he did wrong at all. He just wasn't involved with that because we felt like we needed to get things moving along. And when that happened, another one of the elders realized, because of his giftedness and where his strengths lie, that was even a further kind of, again, exacerbation of where I am. And he didn't feel comfortable. And this just caused us to go more and more circles of going, listen, where are we at? And so we sought advice from Big R and we asked help, and they came in, I think wisely came in and put down options for us. And it really came down to this: either you trust Sean as the primary lead pastor, not sole lead pastor, but the primary lead pastor, or you don't. And if you can't make a decision in that, then we can come in and help and make that decision for you. And I think that was very helpful, because in what we've been going in circles, the reality is, and I think I speak for all of them, we're just tired. We're just really, really tired. And I know I've pent up ideas and things that I would love to do within our church, and I think they do as well, and it's just tired. And so we cast a vote, and I put that there in the letter that you guys can see. It was Friday that we cast a vote last Friday. It was not a unanimous decision at all, but this is really important. This is where some of the nuances get involved. I think any good elder, and this may be difficult for you to understand, is, when you come to a decision that you disagree with, you voice your concerns. And then when a decision is made, you champion it as a team. And so though it wasn't unanimous and though it wasn't easy, it's absolutely supported by elders. And hear this, it's supported by me. I think we would be foolish to go against a vote that Proverbs 16:33 would say that we cast the lot, but the Lord determines the vote. And this is God saying this. God determined that I would not be the lead pastor of Redemption Peoria. We all have to be okay with that. God used our elders and moved us in that direction, and that is an okay thing. And it's hard, and I don't like it, and I get it, but I rest in the fact that God was doing something. And so what we did is we took that weekend to process more. We met again on Monday. And as we met on Monday, we began to really work out the language of what does this mean. And so that meeting on Friday, and again, that meeting on Monday, we spent only a couple minutes saying, here's the vote, here's where we stand. But then from there, we began to unpack, well, what are we saying? And we really landed on those two meetings. Sean, it's not that you can't be a lead pastor. It's not that at all. But we feel like up to that point, we've been using Paul and Barnabas language. And I know for some of you that just kind of maybe brings up a bunch of baggage that you might have from your previous church, but that's what we felt. And so we decided that we were going to send Sean out, or we're moving in that direction, and through emails of how we're going to articulate it to the staff. And here's what we're going to do. And then that Monday and that afternoon, there was a conversation had with the elders outside of me and the executive team of Redemption Church. They came together, and it was decided, both for the interests of Redemption Peoria and for me, that you can't just use language of fit. That's not something that's going to work out. There's more there. And so I think Redemption began to really press on, like, what's going on and what are you trying to say? Because you're not in a good spot to plant with where you guys are. And you got to say something more than just fit. What is it with Sean? And then it came to the bullet points of what eventually became the letter of what you read. And the elders know I was really hurt by where we landed. And again, it's not right or wrong. I think as they walk through it, all you have is conviction, right? And so I think they're trying to navigate how they felt, and they were walk through trying to get to all those answers. And it was hard for sure. I don't agree with it, and I was allowed to add that sentence into the letter that I don't see it that way. From my perspective, when you hear leadership and maturity, and as you saw that, I felt like I was being asked to do something that I didn't think was wrong. It just wasn't me, and I was okay with that. And so as that kind of began to go, of course, then the wheels just moved, and then the deacons were made aware, the members were made aware this last weekend, and then a lot of you have heard, or maybe this is the first time that you've heard it. And there's been crazy amounts of opinions and hearsay and all that. And I want you to know, I'm making this video and putting this letter out there because I think it helps the elders. I think it helps myself, so that when someone says something that I'm not saying, or someone says something that they're not saying, I can go, well, here's where the elders are. They have a letter. This is what they believe. And here's what I'm saying I've seen and what I experienced and where I believe we are. If someone says something different, at least we have it down on paper and on video that this is what I'm saying. Now, all the details, I'm sure you have 1,000 other questions. The reality is there does come a point where, as much as maybe as members you are owed certain information, there's also a point where it becomes slanderous. And we're not, I agree with the elders. I don't want to enter into those phases and dropping names and all that. That's not the goal. There are people that I've chosen to talk with in detail about some of these things, but I don't think that needs to be part of it. The reality is there was a vote put in front of us, decided by the Lord, that I wouldn't be the pastor of Redemption Peoria. And from there, we began to disagree on how it would roll out. And you can't say it's wrong, because I believe at my core, the elders are doing what they believe is best. And that's all we've got. And so from where I stand, I want you to know, as I put in the letter, I'm going to take the next 40 days to fast and pray. Know that there's a few variants in this that I really want you to understand that are important to me. Number one, in all of this, I've been asked a few times just outright, why are you abandoning us? You said this is going to be your only church. Understand that when the vote was cast and we put it all there, in conversations, even before the vote, we had multiple conversations where it was, well, Sean, you could do this, or you could do this. You could be just the teaching pastor, whatever. And as we just had conversations, it wasn't like an official offer. As we had conversations, even many guys on the executive team of Redemption said, well, that's just a terrible idea. And I agree. I don't think, like, let's take the example of the teaching pastor role. I think that would be bad for a lead pastor to come in, Sean's teaching, and some people going, well, Sean's my real lead pastor. This isn't my real pastor. And it would just be confusing for everyone. It'd be confusing for me. It'd be confusing for you. It'd be confusing for him. That just wasn't wise. And so as we worked through stuff like that, it wasn't official offers or anything. Please know, I voted for me to stay. The reality is I'm not at all abandoning you. I love Redemption Peoria. I love the people. We've chosen to web ourselves and our families together. And it saddens me that that it's going in this direction. But at the same time, when I walked away from the meeting on Monday, I would be lying if I didn't say I felt a little bit of freedom. And this was before those other meetings happened. I felt like, you know what, this is tough, but being planted out, us championing this, I can champion this decision. And what God has been doing within me and how to lead our church, whether small or great, is just something that I feel like I want you to know is still on my heart. And so I'll continue to process that and what I do with that. I hope to be able to have conversations in July. But more than anything, I want to leave you with what I said with the exhortation at the end. Here's the reality. Many of you signed a membership covenant, okay? And so as angry as you may be, and you're going, I'm just out, right? The reality is some of you are going to want to go, well, I just want to go with Sean no matter what. Some of you are going to, I'm just going to stay at the church no matter what. And some of you are going to go, just forget this, I'm out, I'm tired of the church game. Regardless, like, you're all committed to Redemption Peoria. So you need to have a conversation with an elder. Yeah, at minimum, you need to hear what they have to say. That's right for us to do. And so here's the last thing I would say. From the jump, I said from day one, and this was before we officially even planted, we're planting the church, we're planting Redemption Peoria for the purposes of mission. And as we did that, we said we're going to be a church of community. And those two things have been like our foundations. They've been what hold us together. And so it would be foolish. It wouldn't be right for us to walk away from all of this without those two things in mind. Number one, if we're a people of mission, we plant a church of mission, you got to know the watching world is seeing a situation like this, seeing how we talk to one another, seeing how you talk to me, seeing how you talk to the elders, and they can see that, right? And we're not being good missionaries in that way. So I want to encourage you, remember that our conduct among the Gentiles needs to be honorable. Number two, we're a church of community, and we've been called to the one another's to not push away, to not be slanderous, but to move towards one another, to not be passive aggressive, to not be aggressive, to speak truth. Here's my concerns. Here's what I have in love. And I want to remind you, we're a body. 1 Corinthians 12, Romans 12, 1 Peter 5, Ephesians 5. We're called to do this well. And then the last thing, and the most important thing that I wanted to make sure you knew in the letter was this still is about Jesus. I said this from the jump. Redemption Peoria will probably not be around in 500 years. No one's going to remember Redemption Peoria. This is his church, his story. There's going to be another church that pops up and another one, and Redemption Church will eventually fade away. It's not about our legacy. It's about Jesus. It's about his comfort. It's about his peace. It's about his guidance. He's our example in all of this. And so as we continue to process moving forward, we're leaning on him. We're relying on him, trying to hear his voice. And so know that would be the last thing I want you to hear. I love you. I continue to pray that God would move in all this in crazy, crazy ways as I put things in front of the Lord, things for us, our family to move forward and how to do that. But if you have any questions, in the letter is my personal cell phone number. It's my personal email address. And it even has 1985. You even don't know the year I'm born. I'm 35 years old. Congratulations. And in all of that, I want you to know you can feel free to contact me, and I would be more than willing to talk with you. I love you, Redemption Peoria. I pray God's favor would be upon you.